Welcome to the last week of our series here for on behalf of Business Station and obviously ASBAS, and we're joined with all of our wonderful advisors, and I'm going to go around soon and introduce you to them all. They're going to introduce themselves, which is great. And today, as promised, is all about you guys. So we're going to do a bit of a recap after everybody introduces themselves. They'll all go through that. We'll do a recap about the Entrepreneurial Intelligence workshop over the last 3 weeks, covering off on vision, passion and brand, which is our version of the why, what and how. And then we're going to open it up for a Q&A. So we want to spend a good 40 minutes on Q&A, where there's a lot of questions still rolled over from last time. And I believe Agatha's got them all collated. And of course, any other questions that you're bringing to the show today that you might have thought of. But what I've also got is a Gazelles one-page strategy document that I want to share with everybody. And it's a strategy document I've used for many years across all my businesses. And now with the launch of the Coffee Commune, I've used the same document again. And I want to talk you through it. So you'll actually have a tangible strategy document, a one-pager. I don't believe in 25,000-page documents that get shelved away and you tick and flick a strategy. You'll see this Gazelles one-pager by Vern Hamish from, can't believe it, what it is Scaling Up, I think it is, a book that he's kind of famous for. But his Gazelles one-pager is very on song, and it covers a lot of the stuff, and it's just you to fill out of the stuff that we've covered over the last 3 weeks. So without further ado, let me hand over and let the advisors all introduce themselves, and remember to keep those questions coming through so for everybody so that they can answer them. Over to you guys.
All right, if everyone can perhaps, yes, turn on their video again, and I'm just going to put view as gallery view for everyone. All righty. And turn on your video. All right, we'll start. Who do we want to start? Perhaps Dante, do you want to start? Hit it off.
Sure, I'm Dante St. James, based in Darwin in Northern Territory, but currently a bit of a digital nomad on the road in Cairns in far north Queensland. Absolutely gorgeous day here. If you can handle humidity, you'll be able to handle Cairns right now. And you know how small businesses, they look at their digital marketing stuff, they look at online advertising, look at all these systems floating around the place, and they think it's like this big fire-breathing dragon that's going to eat them up. Well, I help them slay that dragon with a bunch of partnerships with Google and Facebook, and a pretty plain, simple, repeatable way of connecting you with those tools so they don't overwhelm you, and help you to make use of them, because after all, they're tools, they're not lifestyles. So we don't want you to live in digital marketing. We want you to be able to use it as a tool to grow your business. The people I'm hopefully working with this year and tend to be working with this year is a lot of those businesses probably like yourself in hospitality, in food and beverage, in tourism, that have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. So hopefully I'll connect with some of those businesses over this course. And yeah, thank you. I'll pass back to you, Agatha.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll go right ahead to Carolyn Ferrando.
Hi everyone, I'm Carolyn. I'm from Hawthorn Creative. I'm one of the directors here. So we specialize in helping you create content that converts. So it's all about understanding that emotional connection with your ideal client and then crafting your digital content around that. We have an in-house photography and videography studio too. So we work with you to create content that's unique and that's really specific to your business and your niche. So that's it for me, and I'll hand back to you, Agatha. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. That's fantastic. All right. And the newly published book. How about Tracy? Take it away.
G'day, folks. How you doing? I'm known as the Digital Guide. I am the author of The End of Technophobia, a practical guide to digitizing your business. A solid tome of work. 30 years experience gone into the book there, digital marketing and sales, particularly around small business technology. So I was around for the launch of mobile phones. I was around for the trialing of SMS technology. I introduced the iPhone into Australia. I've been there for all of the major technological milestones that we've experienced as small business owners in Australia. For the last 11 years, my hubby and I also ran a coffee business, which specialized in working with like mining sites and places like that. So we do have experience within the coffee and hospitality sector as well. Digital. I'm a judge for the Australian Podcast Awards. I'm considered one of the pioneers in the Australian podcasting field. I also judge the Australian Web Awards, the Australian Marketing Awards, and the Australian Business Book Awards. So I've got my hand in quite a few different pies across the small business community. I love new tech. I love finding new things. And I'm just off the back of a 36-hour world first marathon in Clubhouse to celebrate International Women's Day. 50 plus speakers, 20 plus countries, 10 trolls, which was kind of cool. We knew we made it, and 36 hours of content. So if I look a little bags under the eyes, excuse that. That's why I'm looking that way. Love to help out my ASBAS clients, and hit me up if you've got any questions. But for now, Agatha, back to you.
Thanks, Tracy. Oh my God, you did all that when you started at 12-year-old, isn't it? You look so young. All right, Nathan, the newly graduated from MBA last night. Nathan, all right, take it away.
Thank you, Agatha. Gee, that's a tough act to follow, Tracy. But hey, everyone, great to see you all virtually. My name's Nathan, and I'm based in Western Australia, beautiful Western Australia. Although, to your point, Dante, I'm struggling with the humidity at the moment, so probably wouldn't do too well in Cairns. Anyway, I'm passionate about helping people and helping brands to look good. That's both people and businesses. Obviously, I'm privileged to be working with a whole bunch of small businesses and owners like yourselves in the areas of branding, marketing, and strategy. I've run a company for just over 7 years called 7 Patterns, and we specialize in services across those fields, and we work with clients across business, government, and not-for-profit sectors. More than happy to talk more about how we could help your business, so feel free to reach out at any stage. Thanks, Agatha.
All right, fantastic. Last and but not least, of course, Joshua Clifton. Take it away.
Thanks, Agatha. So my name is Joshua Clifton. I'm the Managing Director of Master Host Coaching. I've been in the hospitality game for about 20 years, not only working in and consulting with some amazing operators out there. I'm also an author as well, and the founder of the Australian Cafe Owners Network on Facebook. So what does all that mean? Well, basically, I've dedicated my life to helping people build their brands and be confident with their product and service. Essentially, what I believe is the foundation of an incredible business is how you develop a team, how you develop a core product, and essentially how you deliver that message to those around you. I specialize in buyer behavior, customer psychology, and team dynamics. So if any of those 3 things are areas that you need some help with or some guidance, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned veteran, wherever you're at, I'm sure I can assist in some way, and I'd love to jump on a free session with you when you're ready.
Great, awesome. All right, we'll give it back to Phil to just summarize the last 3 sessions of amazing sessions that he did and how it's connecting between vision, passion, and brand. All right, and we'll be right back with the Q&A after this. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Agatha. Now, talk me through this again. So I share this screen.
Yes, the green button on the bottom of your screen.
Yeah. It's telling me that you've disabled it.
My apologies. All right. Can you try again, please?
Here we go. Perfect.
Awesome.
Is it there?
Yes, it's right there.
On a slideshow, it's coming up?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So, quick summary. And for anyone that's registered, obviously, you've got access to all of these. As I go through it in the next, say, 10 minutes, and then I cover off the strategy session, please, questions, have them ready, type them in, and you see that the advisors have got skills in a range of areas, and there's not going to be many questions that you can ask that somebody won't be able to answer. And of course, after this, you can break away and organise sessions with the advisors one-on-one so that they can help you in your business. So keep that in mind also, that obviously the advisors are all here to be able to book and have sessions with one-on-one to continue on your journey of learning and being the best possible you. And as I say, in my motto and my words is be the best you can be. So the EI workshop, the Entrepreneurial Intelligence workshop, was all around vision, passion, brand. It was all about the why, the what, and the how. And what we covered, so in vision, very simple. It was all about the clarity and power of a vision is essential to establish the direction of your business, right? If you don't have a clear and powerful vision, then you can't set a direction for your business. Once you've got that clear, powerful vision, we then go on to the what. And the what was all about and driven by a passion. Now, passion provides the drive and the energy to engage with the purpose and also to sustain that level of commitment. And we talked about resilience. So key ingredients around passion is obviously resilience, which was our what. Brand is what defines the process. It's the way that we actually go about it. How do we go about it, enacting and affecting the why and the what was through brand. It defines your process and structure, and it's there to implement the necessary strategies that will get you to where you need to be. So again, that vision is where you want to be. That passion is the driving force and the energy and the commitment to stay there. And the brand is what defines the strategies on how we get there. So the ability to think about a plan or future with imagination or wisdom is the technical term we gave vision. Goals and visions we spoke about are completely different. Remember that we're envisioning a future place that you're setting a goal by which you will measure your success, right? You're laying down your strategic plan. This gives you that foundation to succeed. And remember that vision must be customer focused, right? And at Di Bella, I spoke about when I developed Di Bella Coffee 2002 as a startup, and we grew it to be the biggest of its kind in the country and then exited. It was all about the ultimate coffee experience. The vision was all about, from a consumer base, to build the ultimate coffee experience. From a customer base, which was the cafe owner, where we specialized in, was all about helping them make money. So the vision had nothing to do with us internally. The vision was big, it was bold, it was brave, but it was a outcome that we wanted to achieve. One, for a consumer, which is the coffee drinker, and two, our customer, which for us was the cafe owner. In passion, the what, I often talk about passion is resilience. If you want to know if somebody's passionate about something, they're resilient, right? It's all about that. I spoke about my passions were education, opportunity, and people. It wasn't coffee. Do I love coffee? Of course I do. I love the industry. I love the product. I love what it stands for, the connectivity of people, a beverage that unites geographics, demographics. Yes, but what am I truly passionate about? I'm passionate about education, opportunity, and people. So to really understand what your passion is, understand that passion is a strong and bearable, barely controllable emotion that evokes action. And I said it 100 times, evokes action. It is all about what drives you, what motivates you. What evokes that best emotional feeling within you. That's what passion is. It's not just an emotion, right? It's an emotion that enacts, it acts action. It drives you. It motivates you. It helps you stay on course. When all of us in business, I don't think you'll come across one person in business that won't tell you you'll have plenty of shit days. Passion is actually the resilience that keeps you going, right? Passion is an emotion that will be one of the key foundations that makes you achieve that outcome. You can't be passionate about something if you give up after one or two setbacks. It's not humanly possible. And brand, now a lot of people talk about brand, very few understand brand. Brand is a product, service, or concept that is publicly distinguished from other products, services, concepts, blah, 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 blah. And this is the technical thing when we go to Mr. Google or Mrs. Google. And this is, to me, very confusing for people. Brand is all about what people say about you, your product or service when you leave the room. And that's what we talked about. If you really want to understand brand, understand that. Brand is what people say about you, your product or your service when you leave the room, right? And that's why people, when they're developing brand strategies, which is your how, need to have brand strategy around owning a voice, your websites, your business cards, your everything that's got your signage. Then we have to have a strategy in place around buying that voice. How do we place our brand out there? Buying the voice is all about your billboards, your digital marketing, radio, whatever tickles your fancy, the right medium for the right audience. And then the third and most powerful is earning the voice around a brand strategy. What are you doing in your organization, no matter how small or big, to earn a voice, to get people to tell others about you? Because as we know, it's the hardest part to build, but the cheapest form of advertising is the earn the voice, building brand through people telling your story for you. Now, building a marketing plan that outlines the above and also sets a budget for each section is important. In different organizations, different business types, you will have different budgets in each section. You take a company like McDonald's, where most of their money goes into buying the voice. It's about advertising, right? You don't have people, McDonald's doing an earn the voice, third-party endorsement. They're not interested in it, right? They're simply around buying a voice. Spend a lot of money on advertising on all different mediums around sponsorship. Owning the voice is all about, their big signs, the big M that you see all around the world. But then you take a different company, and you'll see that there's a different model. I'll use my company that I built and then sold, Di Bella. Di Bella was a 40+ million turnover a year, our marketing budget was $200,000 a year. Now, in the old past, or the traditional marketers will tell you should be spending 10% of your revenue in marketing. Well, you can tell by our numbers, 40 million plus turnover, 200,000. We didn't really spend 10% at all, did we? But yet we had the most powerful brand in the country because we spent a lot of time around earning the voice. So keep that in mind. What business you're in, what service you're in will differ where you put your budget. There is no set template except the fact that you have to have strategy around owning, buying, and earning, right? And remember that it's all about telling your story so that you're emotionally engaged with people and your product and service. Remember, at the end of the day, and we all get asked this, the advisors would be asked this, what's the silver bullet? There is no silver bullet. But if you had to get closest to one silver bullet, it's to understand the following. All we're doing in business is connecting a person to a product or service. And the silver lining, the bullet, the magic Buddha that everyone's looking for is actually emotional engagement. If you want to know and take a look at the companies that connect the person to a product or service the best, they know how to evoke and create an emotional engagement with their target audience. So that's the gist of it. Now, before we go to the advisors, what I want to share with you, so obviously our advisors are all online. I didn't see Sandra there. Maybe Agatha can give us a rundown of what's happened to Sandra after. But what I want to do is share another screen with you, because I know that could be a bit of an overload what we just went through. However, I'm going to try and exit this screen and share, stop sharing this one, and I want to share another screen. Here it is. Now, this is the template. This is the Gazelles template I spoke about, and you'll see here it's a one-page. This is the document that I use and have used for over 10 years. Gazelles was set up by Vern Harnish. Again, I think, like I said, I think it was Scaling Up was his famous book, but he's come out to speak to Australia, speaks all over the world. Now, BHAG, Big, Hairy, Audacious Goal. I don't actually like that term, but it's his document, so we use it. That, in other effect, can be your vision. So we take out of there and you start to see how that workshop comes together. And this will all be available to everybody that's registered over the last 4 weeks. The BHAG is your vision. What do you see? In here, I had the Di Bella vision was all about 5 million cups of coffee per week by 2017. So by the time I exited 30 June 2017, I wanted to achieve and be responsible for 5 million cups of coffee per week. Now, you see that that vision was tangible to everybody in this organization. It didn't matter if they took a phone call and an order, roasted the coffee, packed the coffee, delivered the coffee. That was tangible to them to see what they turned up to work for. It also was a big, brave goal and vision to attend for. But that was our funnel. Everything funneled down to how we produced more coffee that became cups of coffee. Core values. And these are all terms we spoke about over the last 3 weeks. So core values are the values of the organization. At Di Bella, it was all about passion, accountability, consistency, inspiration, and integrity, right? So identifying 3 to 5 core values within your organization is so important, because when things get tough, this is where you come to. This is where you come back to your company. Well, should I do something? Should I not do it? This is where it'll sit. Bring it back to the core values of your organization. What do you want your company to be valued for? Purpose is all about the problem you're solving. So what problem are you solving? And here we had things like helping cafe owners make money, providing, support mechanisms, being a fully integrated coffee company so that we build consistency. These are the things that we put in purpose. What problems is your business solving? Brand promise, how do you want people to speak about you? So we talked about, things like the ultimate coffee experience, coffee worth coming back for, employer of choice. These were just some of the brand promises that were actually living statements that we came back to and helped build and funneled down to our vision of the 5 million cups per week, right? So things like when it was around product, it was produce coffee worth coming back for. When it was our people, it was to be an employer of choice. When it was all about innovation, it was there's only the future. So don't rest on the laurels of yesterday, like your Kodaks and companies like that. Think about what you're going to keep doing, evolving to make sure you're heading towards your vision or your BHAG. And you can start to see how quickly that becomes very powerful. Then down here, we have our quarterly. So what are we going to do between 0 and 3 months? So what do we need to do? What are our strategic priorities to achieve the following, up the above, in the next 3 months? What do we need to do in the next 12 months? So this is your timeline, because a lot of us get caught up. We know what to do, but we don't know when to do it. So 3 months, 12 months, 3 to 5 years. Now, as the world keeps moving and quickly, remember this document was built many, many years ago. I actually like a 5-year strategy. I like a 3-year strategy. It's good to have a 5-year outlook. However, 3-year strategy, and even then that could be a little bit long, right? But you still got to have those forward-facing things. So quarterly, yearly, 3 to 5 years, right? Your name in here, and over here you've got your quarterly priorities, right? And you rate them, your top 5. You rate your KPIs, and you put your critical stuff in here. What's critical in terms of people, and what's critical in terms of process, right? This is where you need to put your critical stuff that needs to be happening, meaning it can't wait. Now, that's a very, very powerful document that I've used for many years. Yeah, I hope it helps the listeners. I hope you've got questions around it and that you've been jotting those questions down. But this, to me, is the best strategic document as a summary that I've seen, because it's a working document. And if you're only joining us for the first time and go back and look at, week 1, week 2, week 3 in the workshops, you will be able to populate this quite well. More importantly, you'll be able to work with one of the advisors one-on-one to be able to help you to do this. So you've got advisors that we're about to flick to now for a Q&A session for the next 35, 40 minutes. They can help you populate this so that you can get well under your way. And remember, my final point, this is a working document. This is not a document that gets filled out, tick and flick and shelve it. So it's only as good as the work that you put into it. So I hope that's helped, Agatha. Let's get everybody back online and let's start answering some of these questions. Obviously, new ones that have come through already that I can see, and some rollover ones that we didn't get to over the last few weeks would be great, because we've also got a few of the advisors that weren't on all the sessions. So
that's right, Phil. Thank you.
Over to you to MC the Q&A.
Absolutely, and thank you. And it was an apology from Sandra. She's unable to join us today. She actually got another workshop that she had to run, unfortunately, and it was scheduled a few months ago. All right, now first question. Let's start with the current live one first, and let's go through this because a lot of questions here. Number 1 from Dave. Is your vision something that you keep within the business, or would you publicly announce your vision on your website, social media, etc.? Phil, you want to start?
To me, the more people that know your vision, the better. So, the more people, your vision is your intent of the organization. Your vision is what it stands for. What are they seeing? And everybody, depending on the problem they're solving and the way they're going about and the industry they operate in and the service they provide, will have a different vision. But yet you can't generate, if you flip the model of vision, passion, brand, you can't generate a brand unless you're very vocal and very clear with your vision. So I would be putting my vision everywhere and everywhere. And most importantly, and I see this happen in organizations, internally, your people need to know what the vision is. They need to know why they're turning up to work. And that's why you have so many public servants these days that are disheartened with the public service, is because they don't know what they're turning up for every day. They're part of a big mechanism and they're doing a small part of it, which is vital, yet they don't understand or they're not told what they're contributing to. So from my experience, and I've had my whole family virtually work in public service all their lives, and that's where I'm speaking from experience, versus myself who's been in business for myself most of my life. Make sure your people know what they're turning up for, but make sure your customers do too. Love it.
All right. Anyone else want to add anything to it or anything the opposite of that? Go right, jump up. Yes.
I'll jump in there, Agatha. I've got a couple of visions. So I've got the vision that does go on the website, and then there's a vision that I know about, which is a variation on that same vision. So some of the things that have been my vision are not necessarily like that, I guess, palatable to my competitors. Like it might be smash this competitor, or open up, disrupt the industry so that the current crop of rip-off merchants are removed from it. But those are not things I'm going to put into my website, because that just is causing trouble that doesn't need to be caused. So yeah, I think there's if you've got a vision that's quite controversial, might be better off to bring that one back from the website, hide that one in your head, and that could be in the website of the mind instead.
I love it. I love it. All right. I'm going to diversify with a question that is from our first session. Now, what is the problem if your customer or your clients come to you for a different purpose or different vision than yours, but they came to you? What do you think we should do? Phil, do you want to start with that, perhaps?
Here we go. Actually, I think Josh would be good to answer this. Josh, do you want to fire away? I mean, Josh done a lot of work around this and he's very experienced. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get context around the actual question. So you have a business and someone's come to you and wanting something else from you instead?
That's right. The question is just, what is the problem if your customer or clients come to you for a different purpose than yours? So I guess a different vision, I guess, or a different, yeah. The purpose is different.
I'm just trying to think of a good example. Obviously, with the hospitality industry, you have a variety of different customers coming to you and coming to you every day. So I think it just comes down to what it is that you necessarily stand for, as opposed to not going into competition with them, if that makes sense. I mean, there is so much competition in the hospitality industry, and it's a sense of no two businesses will ever be the same. Even though the product may be similar, the outcomes that they're both driving are going to be very different. So I don't necessarily see it as something that is painful or hurtful for the business in the long run, but it's understanding what their purpose is, what your purpose is, and is there an alignment there? Is there a chance to collaborate and work together for a common goal, as opposed to driving home your individual ones?
Actually, I think there's a context here is follow-up from the chat, and it could be the person who's asking on the first session is what it meant. I think like when they're not a good match for your business or your, but ask you for that product or service. So it's not a good match, but how do you convert it, I guess? Sorry.
Well, competition-based question, not a problem. If they're not a good match. Look, it's a tough one. I personally have had people come to me that I necessarily thought that we weren't a good fit for each other. I think it comes down to listening to them and understanding their point of view. I mean, I want to work with people that want to work on themselves and their business as well. Like, there has to be a mutual obligation there, a personal responsibility to want to work with me or an organization. If that doesn't seem to fit, it's just understanding why you don't feel it. Is it a personal thing? Is it an ego thing? Is it something to do with you and not necessarily something to do with them? It comes down to following process, following what you normally do. And if the ducks don't line up and you feel like there is a clash of values, then it's okay to say no. I think that's the biggest thing.
Love it.
Okay to, we're just not
it's okay to say no. Yes, if it's not a good match. So just to let everyone know, the panelists, we can't go around to every panelist. If you want to jump in, please do just flag yourself, or just unmute yourself and jump in. The next question, which actually quite relevant to that, is how do you guys handle competitors when they saw you doing so well and wanted to sink you? How do you handle them? Anyone?
I'll take that one if you like.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll take that one. That's a tough situation to be in, but I think that's where it comes back to really, really knowing your vision and your purpose, and you kind of have this type of focus on your business. And there's always going to be competitors out there trying to bring you down. It's the nature of business, basically. But when you're so focused and you know your vision and your passion is driving you in that, it helps you to block out to an extent that noise that can exist. Obviously, if it gets to a certain point where it is impacting your bottom line and your actual ability to perform business, then you might need to take further steps with that. But I mean, we've had a similar thing happen in our industry. I mean, the digital marketing space is very competitive, and so is the photography and videography space. And so what we do is we know our lane, we swim in it, we stick to it, we don't really look left or right about it, and we just make sure that we're really good at what we do, not what everyone else does, because you can't be all things to all men. You've got to just like pick your lane, pick your strength, run with that, and just focus on and just being better and just building your skills and and rising to the top, really.
Love it. Dante, do you want to add? Oh, yes, Tracy, go ahead.
I'm going to add to that. So I love this question. I think if you're working towards building your community and your client base and you service them, work towards having a business where your clients will leap to your defense. So there's a lot of social pressure, right, with social media. And as Carolyn said, this digital marketing space is overrun by cowboys and some very good people as well. And some of the cowboys will do that. They'll try and put posts on socials or leave bad reviews or any of that. They can't hurt you if you've done your job, and your clients will come to your defense. So work on serving your community. And as Carolyn said, stick to your knitting, as my nan used to say. And, you know, that community will leap to your defense, and haters going to hate. I'm going to quote Taylor Swift again.
I'd say so. I think Steve, we ought to see competition as a compliment or an encouragement that we're doing something right, and use it as sort of that extra fuel or energy to lead you down that pathway of really defining and refining your unique value proposition. What makes you different to your competitors, and continue working and following that pathway. As Carolyn said, stay in your lane, but use it as that momentum to continue to change, grow, develop, adapt. And just, you know, referring back to the earlier question, I think it's obviously a great opportunity for you to, you know, explore other opportunities and I suppose look back at what was it that brought that person to your business, even if their purpose doesn't necessarily align with yours. What was it that led them to you in the first place? And that's potentially another doorway of opportunity.
I love
Seriously,
it.
you guys are all so nice. Like, I'm an absolute mongrel when it comes to this. So if they're looking at me, they're not looking at their own clients. So I start targeting their clients. So if they're so worried about me that I'm the biggest problem they've got, they're not servicing their clients. So I can step in and start servicing their clients. Boom.
I love it. Phil, do you want to add to that?
No, the guys have got it. I mean, I support it exactly, and I've done exactly what all of them have said. You know, I had that when I started. When I started 2002, I'd worked in a place for 9 years. They got, you know, I kept the log of everything that if I owned my own business, what I would do better. When I started, they went around trying to, you know, target all my clients, and you know, and it was harder. It was my father-in-law, so go figure that one. So it was related, you know. But what I did is I used the fuel as the fire. I kept it. I turned it into passion. I made that. It made me resilient. I did a bit of everything of what everyone said, what Carolyn said, what Tracy said. You know, exactly the same, and certainly what Dante said. Well, you're going to take. You know, you're focused on what I'm doing. Then I'm going to be targeting because there's something you're missing. And so something for the listeners to take away is you've got to have the perfect harmony of insights. So that's what are you doing internally yourself? Foresights. So what's others doing, your competition, but also peripheral vision. And people forget the peripheral vision. Peripheral vision is what's the industry doing. So you got to have an element of what are you doing, an element of what's your competitors doing, but you've also got to have a big element of what the industry is doing. And that, again, I come back to Kodak, I come back to Nokia, I come back to Ericsson, all these companies that were worth billions of dollars were amazing. Because I hate this, and I'll finish on this point. When someone says, oh, I've been in business for 30 years, you know what I turn around and say? And I'm 45 now, so doesn't sound as cocky as when I was 25. I turn around and say, but are you going to be in business in 30 years' time? Right? Yeah. Because it's so easy to talk about, I've been doing this for 30 years. And like I said, I'm launching a new business right now, the Coffee Commune. And I think we've done all right in this industry. But can I tell you, I'm starting as if I started back in 2002, exactly the same way. Right? There's no complacency in my book, I can assure you, because every new day is a new day. Every new venture is a new venture. And tomorrow changes from today. Evolution is what it's all about.
Absolutely love it. Thanks, Phil. No, I love that. All right. So I think there's this one question about your template that is using the BHAG and the Gazelles template. About would you need to do this exercise for each product and service of the company ecosystem, or is it just one for an overarching all of them?
Well, the short answer is it's one for the overarching company. However, there are some companies that are broken and got many elements to it. So, you know, if you've got a company that's obviously got different elements to it, like I'll give you an example, the Coffee Commune is made up of 4 businesses, in fact, right? It's got 4 GMs. The Coffee Commune is a facility. It's not a coffee brand. It's an ecosystem. It's a coffee mecca from an enthusiast, blah, blah, blah. It has 4 different businesses within it. So those 4 businesses each have one of the Gazelle strategy documents done for it. So there's one that sits for the coffee commune, and then there's one for international coffee traders, one for Coffee Alliance, one for the memberships, and then one for our retail operation. So if you've got a business that is multidimensional, you will need one for each, because of course the offering in our international coffee traders, which is raw coffee, will be completely different to our offering in the memberships, which is all about a coffee chamber of commerce.
Love it. That's fantastic. Yes. Anyone else want to add to that? No, more or less he answered it. Very well done. There's a very good question here. I really, really love it. Is about when do you stop being an entrepreneur and became a business owner and a manager? Is there a switching point? And how do I know when I have to stop being an entrepreneur? You want to start, Josh? I feel like your face says it all. You have to unmute yourself, maybe.
Thanks, Agatha. Yeah, look, I've looked across all the advisors at Phil's face, and everyone's got a huge grin on their face because if they've been in business for a while. They know that there is a shift. You know, the word entrepreneur is thrown around quite loosely at the moment, I find. And I think going from an entrepreneur to that place, it's a variety of elements, but I think it comes down to, you know, a team behind you, what your goals are, progression, showing results, not just financial results, but the impact of what you're doing. I think if you're in business, you've all got an entrepreneur spirit about you, and that's why you're doing it. I think it's a beautiful thing, entrepreneurship. But to get to that level, I don't think it's a line in the sand where like I'm an entrepreneur now, I'm a business person. It's just a transition. You know, it's just part of that growth to get to a business. But yeah, it's an interesting question. It's more, why is that question being asked? So I'm interested in that person. Like, why is that something that's being asked in the first place? Yeah.
Love it. Anyone else want to add anything about being an entrepreneur? Maybe Phil. I feel like you haven't stopped, Phil.
Well, the word to me, anyone that puts the word entrepreneur on their business card is a total moron. It's entrepreneurship's an intelligence, right? It's not a title. And the best organizations have entrepreneurial intelligence throughout the whole organization. It's not the leader or the business owner that's the entrepreneur. It's everybody within the organization that has an intelligence that looks at it from a pure, entrepreneurship is an intelligence. And the best book I've seen so far, because obviously everyone's an author, you know, and the true authors are people like we've got here in the advisors that actually live what they've written. That's a pure author, not somebody that, you know, is looking at some crap and deciding to write a book. And a lot of people have done that around entrepreneurship. But E-Myth is the best one I've seen. E-Myth is Gerber's book on E-Myth. The great organizations have technicians, which is your doers. It has management, which are the managing the doers and doing themselves. And then the managers, and then you've got entrepreneurs, right? But the key to it is you're not labeling people. You've actually got technicians thinking like managers, managers thinking like entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs trying to be the best that they can be. So everybody's working within the levels of the business. So if you really want to understand entrepreneurship and how it should work in an organization, E-Myth is a really good resource. But in short, my own take on it over the years is, and that's why that book was written, Entrepreneurial Intelligence by Alan Bonsall. He wrote about entrepreneurship as an intelligence, and he wrote it about in 2012 when everyone was talking about I'm an entrepreneur, just like everyone's a property developer, right? Well, we're all property developers if we own a property because we're developing it and improving it in some way or form. But you get these gimmicky things that happen. But in short, don't lose sight of that. You know, it's the best analogy I can use is the following. Is that the conductor of an orchestra would look like an absolute idiot standing there without anyone playing music. And that's what happens in organizations when they talk about entrepreneurship. So if you think that the business is run by an entrepreneur, then think about the analogy. It's no different to a conductor standing at the front doing these ones, yet there's no music playing because there's no one playing. And that's what Josh touched on. It's a team, people. It's a group of people. It's everyone in your organization that actually drives it. So it's the intelligence. It's not a title.
Absolutely love it. Spot on. This is one question I want everyone to answer. Actually, I think this is a very good question. We'll start with Phil. Phil, how did you pick the trends in your industry? And everyone has got a different industry that you're focusing on. So the future product or the future shifts in consumer behavior, how do you pick that, and how do you, I guess, foresee the future?
Yeah, good. Great question. Great question. 3 tips. 1, if you follow that insights, foresight, and peripheral vision, right, you will be in tune. So that's step 1. Always constantly analyze what's going on within your organization, what's going on around you with your competitors, but what's going on in the industry. And if you do that, and I did that with Di Bella Coffee, right? At the time that I started in 2002, there was companies that had great branding, but their coffee was average. There was companies that had great coffee, but their branding was average. And then there was companies that had both, but weren't consistent. So I was able to pick the trend that I was going to build an organization that actually wasn't going to be about product. It was going to be about service. So I was going to pioneer the concept of service. But I knew my target audience was cafe owners. It wasn't supermarket. It wasn't office coffee. It was cafes, right? So step 1, insights, foresights, peripheral vision. Number 2 is, what problem are you really solving? So when someone comes to me and says, I'm opening a cafe, I say to them, what's going to make it different to the other 400 on the same street? Right? What problem are you going to solve? What is the real problem you are solving? Because opening a cafe is not solving a problem. Right? And then the third part, and this is the hardest part, is you need to have an ability to anticipate. Right? You need to have a look at anticipation. And the best way I can understand that is mindset. So COVID hit, and you had 70% of people go into a black hole and panic. And some of them rightly so, because everyone's got different life circumstances. But I can tell you the 30% that saw that as opportunity are thriving now. Now, again, in some industries, in some people's cases, you can't thrive because they were here. And a lot of that was obviously tourism, obviously a lot of people that are single parents, people that suffered illnesses and were sick and had to look after sick, that take them out of the equation, because that's obviously completely understandable. But there are a lot of people that it was doom and gloom, it was the end of the world. Whereas there was other people, and I saw it in our industry in cafes, 70% of cafes shut up shop and went, that's it, we're done, we're ruined. 30% of cafes went, you know what, I'm going to start selling toilet paper because, people are looking for it. I'm going to start bottling our sauces up and selling it because people will make pasta at home. I'm going to move my counter to the front window and just do takeaway, and they were proactive. They were on the front. So the third part is anticipation. It's mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, you can't achieve anything.
Love it. Love it. Anyone else want to add to that? Is how do you see the future? What's your crystal ball? Yes, Josh.
So I'll just lower my hand now.
It's okay.
Put up both the virtual hand and the actual hand. Look, I started my hospitality consultancy business on the premise that for one of the biggest industries on the planet, cafes, bars, restaurants, and a bridge of cultures throughout the world, there was simply a lack of support for this huge industry. There was need, but I wanted to provide a space where people could come together to connect, to share and to grow together. And I think by default, Phil, by creating with the Di Bella brand that you created, you did that by default. But I think it just naturally happened. You created such a strong product, but your support behind that product was incredible. I've worked with you, I've seen the way you operate, and it's an incredible level of accountability around adaptability and servicing a client's needs. And that was why I created this business, the Master Host Coaching. It was because I wanted to connect these people and see what their problems were and see how I could help. And I knew I could help with my background in the industry, but it was looking at that and finding a gap in the market. To predict the future though, in this sort of space, well, the hospitality industry, like any business, I feel the number one thing businesses are crying out for is still support. They're realizing that they need help in certain areas. This is why the ASBAS works so great, is because we're giving them that option to provide a range of different solutions to a very ever-changing market. And I think that's where the adaptability comes in, and predicting it, like I am now joining the ASBAS or creating new platforms for people to connect with me online, to writing a book, and doing all those things. They were parts of me adapting to my market. It wasn't self-serving. It was like, this is how I can connect more and more with the people.
I love it. Dante, you raise your hands.
Expose yourself to as much learning as you possibly can. I was shocked when I learned that around about 80% of small businesses never go to a workshop, never go to a webinar, never go to any classes, don't learn anything. They start up, they keep going, and they shut down having never learned anything new about their industry or what they do. So I became very obsessed with learning to the point where it's 20% of my week is just research and learning. And if you don't do at least some percentage of your week doing some homework, and yes, you're an adult, you have to do homework as well, you've got to go home and actually do some stuff that's going to protect your business in the future. Nobody's going to do it for you. An ASBAS Digital Solutions advisor won't do this for you. You have to take that step and go, I'm willing to learn something about my business so I can protect myself against competitors in the future, the next COVID, the next economic downturn, the next thing that changes my industry. If you don't learn, you can't apply anything. If you can't apply anything, you won't be able to do that magical pivot thing when the changes do come, and they will come, and they'll continue to come.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Dante, I'm impressed. And then, be careful. You're going to surpass Google. Google might be changed to the Dante. All right, Carolyn, go right ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really important that you read and you stay on top of what's happening in the world around you. I know a lot of us like to shut out that noise because it can be quite negative, but that's where you're going to start seeing the future trends coming. So, for example, when COVID hit, our digital marketing took a big hit, but we were able to pivot strongly into our videography and we offered live streaming, especially for weddings, because nobody could go to weddings or funerals. So we saw that coming when my business partner went to England in January of the year that COVID started, and it was already starting over there. So when he came back, he said, look, we need to really look at this. And so we kept on top of it and we were able to plan accordingly. So make sure that you look at that, because like even things like interest rates going up and big changes can have a flow and effect back to your business. And you can start now and just think about it and say, okay, hypothetically, what would we do? Where do we pivot in that instance? And then that will help you plan for the future as well.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And Tracy, go ahead.
Totally agree with everything that everyone said. I'm a very practical person. So how do you put that into place practically? Look into things like Google Trends. Make sure that you're setting up Google Alerts. So you've got alerts coming through for your industry, for your competitors, that you're checking out what's happening on Google Trends, that you know. So instead of you wasting a ton of hours going, well, I don't know where to start, and what does this even look like? That information starts coming to you, and then one or two things are going to pique your interest. They're the rabbit holes you chase. That's where you invest a bit of time and go, okay, now I need to check this out. Now I need to do a bit of research here. Now I need to sign up for their newsletters, get into their ecosystem, see what they're doing, and see how I can pivot that and adopt that and adapt that in my business. But I'm a really practical person. So Google Alerts, Google Trends, two of your best mates when you're looking to put that peripheral vision in place.
Absolutely love it. And Nathan, do you want to just add a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think everyone's nailed it. Agatha, but I would just say it's important that you immerse yourself in the community, the industry, the market that you're targeting, so that you're experiencing the problem that you're attempting to solve. You're experiencing those pain points. And I'll just finish with this thought. I love the saying that customers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So it's important that they know that you care about the pain points, the problems that they're experiencing, and therefore you're able to offer that solution in an authentic way.
Absolutely love it. Yes, yes. And Phil always says this, it starts with the people, just always about the people, never about the product or service. So people, people, people. All right. So there's a couple of questions here and they're a bit more operational, and I'll probably throw it into the digital marketing specialist about, if I own and run a cafe, how much should I be investing in digital marketing a month or a week? And what should I be spending money on? Tracy, do you want to take this one? And we'll go with Josh after.
Sure. So look, for me, before you even talking about spending money, get your strategy right. Like what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? Who are your people? What's the problem? Don't take the money out off the table and get that right first, because guess what? If that's not solid, you're going to be throwing a bunch of cash out the window, and you may as well just give a $50 note to everyone who comes in and buys a coffee, because you're going to be racking that up really quick. So get really solid on that. Once you know where your people are hanging out, then you can be looking at targeting them a little bit more specifically, maybe creating some content that is going to solve their problems specifically. But until you know your people and until you've got those foundations of the strategy right, sorry, but I'd just take the money off the table right now.
Love it. Absolutely. Josh, you raise your hand.
Yeah, look, right up my alley, this one. Have this question a lot with clients. But I absolutely, number one, agree with Trace on that one. Like, do not spend $1. Word of mouth will make or break a cafe or any business in the hospitality industry. You can create a booming cafe, bar, or restaurant with no money down on advertising if you have a good social media presence. It just does not count. If you do need to be pumping a lot of money in to that kind of thing, there's a couple of questions to ask. Are you already investing money in you and you're worried about, are you spending too much? Because if that's the case, then marketing will get people in the door, but trust will keep them coming back. So I would say no to marketing, but look at getting an advice in your hand, obviously. But it comes down to, as Tracy said, understanding your core brand, understanding what it is, what problem you're solving within the community of other cafes that are around you, and really just focusing on word of mouth. It is the only piece of advice I can give in that regard. Like, it is crucial in the hospitality industry. So work on your customer relations, work on your team, have your team as your superstars, and let them do the advertising and marketing and help you with them, and your current customers as well. Prompt them to help you with marketing as well.
Sounds like a brilliant strategy. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, Carolyn, go right ahead.
So from a more practical point of view, if you do want to get into the marketing side, understand there's different platforms, there's different levels in the digital marketing space. Are you looking at paid social media advertising to boost your organic work that you're doing? Are you looking at your SEO, your on-site SEO, your Google AdWords? There's a lot of different levels there, and each level comes with different budgets and different spends. So yeah, so really figuring out what you want to achieve from your marketing. Is it like a branding? Is it you want leads? Is it just to tell people, hey, we're here, an awareness thing? So understand that. Always make sure that you set your foundations well. Don't just go, hey, I'm going to give Google AdWords a chance, and jump into it, because it's really easy to spend a lot of money and not get a lot of results. So take the time, talk to somebody that knows their stuff in this space, figure out beforehand, again, this is on a practical level, your budget, like what you're comfortable spending, and look at what your cost per conversion is too. So if you're going to spend X amount, how much what percentage increase do you want to see in your sales or in your nominated KPI, basically?
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, I think Dante, I'll be remiss not to ask you. This is obviously your baby. Can you just add on that?
The bigger the population you want to reach, the more it's going to cost you. The broader that you want to go, the newer you are, the less reputation you have, the more it's going to cost you. If you're doing all that work first, like Carolyn's been saying, like Tracy's been saying, like everyone's been saying, do the foundational work first, and it will cost you less when it comes to actually paying for something. I would say probably don't bother with buying Google ads, because if you are asking the question of how much it's going to cost, you probably can't afford it. If you want, when it comes to advertising on TV and radio, there's very few markets in Australia that still have any kind of affordability in that area. If you have to ask again how much it's going to cost, you're probably not in a position to be able to afford them. Your paid channels that are probably open to you are more like, TikTok's going to cost you $3,000 a month at least. It's going to start there. Facebook is going to cost you $350 a week just to start. So you've got a month just to start. So you're going to have to start getting some realistic look at that and going, I am a small business or a micro business. I'm up against everybody who's much bigger than me already doing all this. The chances are that I'm not going to win this game by spending money. So I've got to look for the ways that I can do things for free first. And when they don't work, then get someone like any of these guys on the screen today to have a look at what you might have as options.
Thank you so much, Dante. All right, we're running out of time. We can do all this literally probably all day. So what I'm gonna do now is actually just to let everyone know, every one of you attendees and whomever watching, you can actually book the advisors through the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. I have shared all their links. Go to businessstation.com.au and you should be able to book this lovely advice. This session has been brought to you by the AusIndustry, which is our funding body to deliver the Australian Small Business Advisory Services. Now, Phil, thank you so much for a fantastic 4 weeks. You know, we couldn't thank you enough. Thank you all the advisors. Before we go, do you mind giving us just a takeaway, the whole 4 weeks? What is it that a small business, as an entrepreneur, in terms of their entrepreneurial intelligence and what they should take away from all these 4 series webinars?
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, Agatha, thank you. And obviously your whole team there with John Huey and ASBAS and Business Station, you guys have been fantastic. Great initiative by obviously federal government. To the advisors, you guys have been rock stars. Well done. Tracy, Carolyn, Joshua, you know, Nathan, Dante, and even Sandra, who couldn't make it today. She can pay for drinks when we all get together for not turning up. But it's been a pleasure. To the people listening, nothing happens unless you get in that fucking river. Okay, it's the first time I've sworn in 4 weeks. I think I've done quite well. But you got to get in that river. If you don't get in the river, nothing happens, right? A great way to start is don't put it off till later. You've got the links there. You've got the advisors here. Jump on there and have a look and book in some sessions with these guys to help you. No person is an island. Entrepreneurship doesn't exist. It's entrepreneurial intelligence. Everyone on the screen here can help you become more entrepreneurially intelligent. They can help you fill in that document that I've shared with you all. And remember that without a vision, nothing starts. Without passion and resilience, your vision will never happen. And unless you understand the concept of brand, you can't bring it out and make it happen. And again, get in the river, because if you don't, it's not going to happen. It's all about having that vision, building the strategy, but you need to execute. And you don't need to execute alone. There are so many resources available now, and this is just one of them with this program and ASBAS. But if you don't jump in that river and make the effort, then it's no use. So you can't know it all. I certainly don't know it all. My favorite saying is, I'm never the smartest person in the room. Because that keeps me learning and moving forward towards a better direction. So until I get the pleasure of, doing something like this again, I wish you all the best. I wish you to be the best you can be and work on today being better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. Thank you to all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Take care. Bye. See you next time.